as well. As the drivers get set for qualifying, so you can see some movements there in the managerial sectors. Kevin Siggy walking away from the Team Redline bench as he now looks to take his place up at the top end as well. He's actually going to have an interview as well, I think,
Rory's on the
with
attack.
Rory standing by. I tell you what, he's relentless, isn't he?
Yeah, Rory's just constantly on the attack. He's like, boom, right, you're not racing at the moment. You're in next race. Up you come, up you come.
What a superstar.
Exactly. The drivers there that will be racing for Redline, it remains the same lineups as in the previous race. So Enzo Benito and Luke Bennett will be taking on this one. This, though, is, whilst I say Josh Rogers country, it's Luke Bennett country as well. This is where he took his first online victory. This is where he's looked so strong. There is Enzo Benito, who I'm wisely informed, I'm going to say it, even though it's absolute rubbish, I'm sure, that he went to school with Gianmarco Verducci. So I doubt it. I just don't see it.
You just don't believe them, do you, Lewis?
No.
I mean, they tried to convince us with that story last night, but you just saw the graphics. Qualifying now, about to get underway as we look to go racing yet again here at the Nürburgring. Race 2 coming up very shortly, but first a small matter of where they're going to be on the grid, and Josh Rogers taking us around first.
Yeah, certainly so. Of course, the driver that would have topped practice slightly coming into this, so going into it as the first driver to go round. Luke Bennett will be next. It's going to, actually Enzo Benito will be next, then Luke Bennett. It's going to be very tight. Out through the Mercedes Arena section and down towards Ford and Valvoline. We'll see what these sector times are from him. Again, aiming for a 36.2 in that first sector. Guess what it is? It's a 36.2. However, Joshua Rogers did set an unbelievable lap on Friday, which is a 52.7, which is actually about nearly 3/10 faster than the sectors that I've got down here as my delta.
Yeah, well, coming through Dunlop hairpin now, obviously already enlisting that very nice 36.2 in the first sector, as you alluded to, Lewis McGlade. He'll now look to try and plant somewhere in the 47.3s here for sector 2 as he comes through the Michael Schumacher S section. Of course, then Michelin curve coming up after this. Of course, a dogged left-hander at turn 10, where you really need to prime your braking point as he does clip the curb on the inset. Third gear as well, straight to the accelerator still, as he now makes his way through turn 11, a bit curve, and then the very high intense rise now before then you reach Bogan and then the NGK chicane. 47.3 in the middle sector. That looks good, Lewis.
Yeah, it's decent. It's tracking for being in the 52.9s. It's not going much faster than that. Could be good enough for Bowl, though. Depends how he nails this final sector. Into the NGK chicane, absolutely nailing the curb as hard as he can either side of it, and then down through the final corner. Needs to do the final sector in around about 29.5 seconds. Anything around about a 0.4 or 0.3 would be pretty impressive. See what Rogers can do up across the line. Aiming for a 52.9, not quite, 53.1. I am not sure that will be pole position.
Well, that sector 3 time could be the issue, as now Enzo Benito makes his way in towards the chicane at NGK, setting a 36.2 in the first sector, which is spot on where we're looking to be. 47.2 as well in that second sector. Is very fast as now he makes his way through the final corner as well. Coming out of turn 15, the Italian now looking to rise. The Italian stallion, Enzo Benito, coming up towards the line in sector 3, 29.5 in that final sector. Ooh, lost a little bit, but enough for first fastest.
Yeah, I did think he clipped a little bit too much or kind of caught the curb a little bit awkwardly in the first part. Let's see what Luke Bennett could do. He's tracking for very similar sector time through the first and second, up and over the first curb, up and over the second curb, out through the final corner again. Watch his face in the bottom left. See if there's any reaction from Luke Bennett. He comes through the 15th and final corner. He knows what lap time's been set. That was a little bit wayward coming through the final. Bit of a shake of the head up towards the line. It's going to be a 53 something, maybe a 52. It's not quite a 53.020. So up to provisional pole. That might just stand.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, sector 3 breaking hearts, and I tell you right now, sector 2, while it's a 10th out of where the threshold is for Marcel Chinchik as he makes his way out to the NGK, a 36.1 in the first sector is stellar as now he makes his way in towards the final corner at turn 15. A slowdown penalty on the outset of the NGK chicane, and again the third sector claims another victim.
I can't believe what I'm seeing. That is back-to-back slow-down penalties for Marcel Chinchik in qualifying, meaning he started from 12th in the previous race, and he's likely to be starting 12th in this one. 3 seconds off. R8G really starting to struggle. Here was the focus of our attention coming into this. Mac Backham, who, of course, struggled a little bit in the previous race. 12th position in it. Qualified in 8th, though. His teammate is up in 3rd. He needs to get up into that sort of ballpark and start to challenge. Of course, he's going to go ahead of Marcel Chinchik, but he is going to be behind his teammate Joshua Rogers. It's just about by how much. That middle sector is not quite good enough. I think it might be a 10th or 2 off of Rogers, and certainly ends up 3 tenths off of the pole that Luke Bennett has presently set.
Yeah, Bono House now up next, 36.2 again in that first sector is showing well, 47.4 though, just slightly out of the 47.3 you might prefer in that area. Of course, sector 3 coming up next though, the scenes are where Marcel Cinczyk will lose out again, and RAG are going to be seething at the fact that now one of their top talents is suffering at the helm now of a slowdown penalty. Bono Hoos now heading up towards the line. The Dutchman looking to strike 29.5. It's modest at best, but enough to go fourth fastest.
Yeah, it's decent. It's decent. It's nothing crazy, but it is decent. And Yuri Kasdorp will be up next, the first of the two Mouse drivers. Now, Kasdorp did finish in fourth in the previous race. I said before he looked like a different driver in LAN, particularly on the Thursday. Bit too much curb and a slowdown penalty for him. I mean, you could see that reaction straight away. He'll come through the final corner. It's going to be challenging Marcel Cinczyk's time, but unfortunately, not any of those at the front.
No, not at all. Cinczyk now has... Well, certainly he can at least breathe a sigh of relief for something, at least. You know, Kasdorp joins him now towards the tail end of the field, though Kasdorp does go faster than Cinczyk, and only 2.8 off Luke Bennett. But nevertheless, Isaac Price, 36.2 in the first sector, is good again. 47.3 again, matching where the threshold is in sector 2. A big sector 3 required now for the man who had a monumental start at Monza in our previous race. Comes around turn 15 this time, does the Brit. Can Price raise the stakes for G2 Esports? Coming up towards the line now, 29.4 is pretty good. It's enough for third fastest, 52 thousandths off the top.
Look at this lap time though, coming in from James Baldwin. Sector's looking really good, 36.2 in the first sector, a bit a higher two though, but the middle sector's looking really, really strong, up and over the curbs. This could be a 52 from James Baldwin. He comes down into the final corner at 15. Let's see what it'll be for Baldwin. He needs to respond, he needs to react. He had a fantastic two-car pass at the previous round at Monza. He'll come towards the line and he'll move his way into second place. 200ths off of Luke Bennett. Decent lap time for Baldwin.
The top five all within the same tenth of a second. Sebastian Job, though, looking so dialed in right now. 36.2 in the first sector, 47.2 in the middle, though, is very good. NGK Chicane now. Can he join Price in the top five? Can he take the top spot? Luke Bennett currently sat on a 153.020 for Team Redline. G2 looking to break their hearts here with Sebastian Job now. A little shrug, a little smirk, comes up towards the line. Is it enough? It is enough. It is a 53.004, 16 thousandths faster than Team Redline's Bennett.
And he didn't look particularly pleased coming through that final chicane, but still, it should be, at the moment, good enough for pole position. It's about what Moritz Lerner and Thibaut Casabon can do. At the moment, Lerner's time is not tracking to be good enough, but it looks like it actually might be decent comparatively to the rest of the R8s. Of course, the other two being Marcel Cinczyk and Yuri Kasdorp, who've received slowdown penalties in that final sector. Moritz Lerner will come through the final corner and out towards the line. He's not looking particularly pleased. I think he's lost a bit of time in that final sector, and he'll move up just ahead of Mac Backham, but nearly 3/10 off of the pole and behind Butter House.
And most of those lost in sector 3. Once again, it claims yet another victim here at the Nürburgring. Thibaut Casabon is going to be the last driver to head through the NGK chicane, representing RAG, with Cinczyk currently at the bottom end of those that have set lap times now as they head through turn 15. The Frenchman now looking across, of course. A 36.3 in the first sector isn't ideal. 47.4 certainly isn't either, but this will surely be enough to go ahead of his teammates as he heads across the line now. It's a 53.495, only enough for 10th fastest. RAG struggling.
But G2 looking, they've come into today in a different level. It's 5th place for Isaac Price, but it is 1st place again. Sebastian Job. I mean, we've said that about the strength of him. He was one of the big casualties on Thursday that never went through into Friday's action. He's a driver that we know is rapid. We know he's focused. We know he's quick, and that's why he's at the front. Let's take a look, though, at the starting grid. Marcel Cinczyk will start off the back of the grid along with Yuri Kasdorp after slowdown penalties. Thibaut Casabon in 10th place with Mac Backham in 9th. Still struggling a little bit in the qualifying session one, worse than he did at Monza, as he starts just behind Moritz Lerner and Butter House. Into the top half of the grid, Joshua Rogers, a driver we were expecting to be very strong around here, missing out on pole position by just around 1/10 of a second, will start from 6th position, with Isaac Price for G2, the points leaders, starting from 5th. Then Enzo Benito, James Baldwin and Luke Bennett for Team Redline, and of course Sebastian Job taking the ALJ fastest qualifying lap here in race number 2. What can he do wrong? He won back in Monza from pole position. Looks to take another one here at the Nürburgring.
Sensational scenes indeed for G2 Esports. Back-to-back pole positions here in the quest for the team's championship. And this is the man you want behind the wheel of your sim rig. He's back again. Can he win again?
Oh, I think he can. From pole position, he gets... If they're getting starts like what they did back in Monza, now, yes, it's not as long of a run down into the first corner, but he will be looking fairly comfortable. Comfortable's a word, though. Let's be honest. In a race like this, in a battle like this, comfortable's... It's not really
one
common.
thing to say it, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's another thing to do it.
Absolutely.
So there we go. Yeah.
Well, there is another look. Once again, your ALJ fastest qualifying lap by Sebastian Job. Sebi, of course.
Yep.
For G2 Esports, the team's points leader. This is massive, not just for Sebastian Job, of course, and Isaac Price, but for Joni Tormula and Freddie Rasmussen, who'll be going in the next race after them for the next two. If you're going into it, yes, sure, you've got a lot of pressure, but you've almost been like, my teammates have done this. I know what my pace is to them. Let's do this.
It gives you that boost of confidence. Team Redline once again all smashed together here in their area, just sitting tight, waiting for the race to start. They've got a little bit of an upward curve to go in their way too, because of course they've got Luke Bennett on the front row. So obviously he's going to look to challenge heading in towards turn one. Enzo Benito, though, not necessarily having his greatest run so far. Luke Bennett looking to bounce back as well from 10th place. Benito looking to bounce back from 7th. Both point scoring areas in terms of the classification. They've yet to obviously have their other drivers come into the fold, but nevertheless, it's all about those early results. It sets the tone for the championship.
Penny for the thoughts of RHG, though, coming into this definitely as one of those teams that we were expecting to be right at the front. And Marcel Cinchik, a driver who we know is extremely strong, our Spring Series champion here in ESL R1. Wow, another slowdown penalty, another 12th place in qualifying. And
they look to have, you know, a lot of promise coming into this event too. They were utterly astonishing yesterday. In fact, Cinchik was one of their key figures, but Luke Bennett as well, as we take a look at him panning on the screens, he is now rising to the occasion. P10 in the previous race, now he has a chance to go put a 1 against the result. This time, though, he'll want it without the 0. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the thing is with Bennett, we know he's fast around here. When he won in the online round as well, it was here that he did it. Of course, James Baldwin had a great lap in qualifying as well. Let's not forget the top 5 are all separated by a 1/10 of a second. Is kind of what we've become accustomed to in ESL R1. Yeah, it's very competitive indeed. There's Marcel Cinchik, who's got to try and find something to bring some big points to RHG. A big prize pool on the line as we look to go racing, of course. You can cut the tension with a knife here at ESL R1, brought to you by Aramco. Get set. Lewis McGlade, what are your thoughts? I think we're in for quite a race. Nürburgring sometimes doesn't deliver. On this occasion, I think it will. Of course, it's our first time visiting Nürburgring today. We've done a race at Monza now. We race at the Nürburgring. After this, we'll go to Hockenheimring and Spa. But the focus is on that run down towards the first corner. At the moment, G2 Esports are leading the points. Will they continue to do so after the second race here on Championship Sunday? The lights will go on, and it will be Sebastian Job to take control as they race their way down towards the first corner. It is a decent start once again, I do believe, from the G2 Esports man, and it certainly is. He comes over to come across Team Redline. James Baldwin going on the attack down into the first corner, incredibly tight between the two of them, but realistically, that is a fantastic start from Sebastian Job. Yeah, Sebastian Job cutting off any approach. He managed to hold firm, certainly to the lead, and kept the advantage heading through the Mercedes Arena section. Still being pursued though by Luke Bennett, who has got James Baldwin all over his rear. We got a battle further down as well as Team Redline ascend again, but G2's Isaac Price as well as Sebastian Job looking to try and rise to the occasion. Price looking around the outside as well as they make their way through the next left. Can't quite make the move, but still on the attack. Yeah, Benito covered that one off really well, but of course it's Joshua Rogers now on the attack. Porsche Commander Esports not scoring what they think they should be scoring right now. 6th position on the road for Joshua Rogers. 2nd place in the previous race. Porsche Commander a bit further down in the point standings than where they'd expect 3rd place at the moment. They're looking to move their way forward. Of course, G2 Esports currently running in that 5th position with Isaac Price. Rogers will be trying to apply as much pressure as he can. We go single file up through the Michael Schumacher S. Joe, Bennett, Baldwin, Enzo Benito, Isaac Price and Joshua Rogers. Yeah, absolutely. Climbing the hill now. Of course, James Baldwin now about to take certainly the next left-hander as they make their way down in towards the next right as well. This circuit very treacherous here as they now round the next right. Of course, as we're now seeing, obviously all of them still tied up. There's a little gap though starting to brew. That of course being between Enzo Benito and James Baldwin. Benito though not alone. He's got Isaac Price right behind him here. There we have a look at Porsche Commanders, Joshua Rogers, 4/10, within 4/10. The 2 RHG cars at the back squabbling as well, trying to get past the big Mac Backham, who sits in 10th place. Kazibon and Cinchik, goodness me, 11th and 12th. If you are Mehdi Al Fati right now, you're going to be absolutely seething. Yeah, because you know, if you
basically, again, as we've always said, you need to get your team to 150 points, and right now, scoring just the 1 point from this race, RAG are really in the mud. They can turn it around, they can fire their way back towards the front, but they need to have an incredible one with Yuri Toman later on. Here we go, down the inside. That was, of course, Moritz Lerner trying to get past Bunnerhaus for 7th position. We look at Joshua Rogers in 6th. Now, backwards from him, you can see that fight from behind. And there we go. Oh, it's almost going to be covered off. Bunnerhaus trying to get it down the inside. Was Moritz Lerner. He's trying to send one through. They exit the Mercedes Arena section, and it is the Mercedes that stays on front.
Yeah, absolutely right indeed. As they now peel down towards the next part of the track now. You can see the mouse car now looking to go side by side. Moritz Lerner and Bono House now battling for 7th place as they beckon down through towards the hairpin bend. Bono House being forced out wide as well as they look to try and bump wheels, but respectful racing in between the two. They've got the hairpin coming up next now, as you can see them now parallel down towards turn 7 as they creep on through the mouse Audi, trying to usurp that of the Mercedes. Will have the tighter inside line. The favourable line as Yuri Kastorp tries to push it through, but it is Mouse on top in this occasion. Moritz Lerner jumps ahead of Bono House and takes that 7th place.
Yeah, certainly so. Well, here we go. So dropping backwards, Bunnerhaus goes. Yuri Kastorp now involved in the mix. They'll go up towards the section, towards the back stretch as they go down towards Ad Van Bogen. It's the inside line being taken. That's a bit wide, though, unfortunately, for Bunnerhaus as they send their way through. It's being pushed off into the gravel trap. That's Yuri Kastorp. Is going to lose a few positions because here comes Mac Backham as he goes through the fast kink of the right-hander. Oh, he's being squeezed through. This is incredible stuff. The bubble draft coming in from Marcel Chinchik as well as we come towards the NGK chicane. The inside line from Yuri Kastorp. They're squeezing between the two as Bunnerhaus is just able to drop back, but he's not been spun around. That's a fantastic move from Yuri Kastorp. Bunnerhaus down to 9th position. Marcel Chinchik out of nowhere up to 10th as there's an attack from Casabon.
Absolutely, Chinchik needed to make the move. Casabon now also looking to rise alongside his teammate. 2 RAGs now looking to try and score points. Both of them now in the point scoring sections, but they'll want more as we now take a rear view from Marcel Chinchik's car. There you can see Mac Backham around the outside, goes later on the brakes than that of Casabon, who now has the inside heading out of turn 1. He'll have a better line. The better line indeed for P11. Takes it as well heading through Mercedes Arena. RAG now both in the points, but like I said, they need more, Lewis McGlade.
Wow, this is tense towards the back. I mean, that 3 wide down the backstretch through Ad Van Bogen was absolutely incredible. Scintillating action, and Mouse find themselves 7th and 8th. Bunnerhaus down to 9th. Obviously not being able to assist his teammate James Baldwin up the order. Mac Backham being dropped once again to 12th. I feel bad for Mac Backham right now. Obviously, he was just in the middle of all of that, and when you're in the middle of it, someone has to be the loser in all of that. It's just a big shock for him, and you know that's going to be living in his brain, basically living it rent-free.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, he had to do something heading in towards turn 1, but late on the brakes cost him dearly, and unfortunately Casabon, he managed to get through. RAG, though, 10th and 11th. Still got to chase after Bono House for that 9th spot. The 2 mouse cars currently sat together as well. Moritz Lerner, though, leaving a bit of a gap in between himself and Josh Rogers, who is now starting to pepper the back of Isaac Price's car. But a very familiar sight at this point, Lewis. 1 and 5 for G2 here at this point. Red line, though, securing some good points as well should it stay like this. I know we're only on lap 3 of 8, but Bennett and Benito 2nd and 4th.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is exactly where they finished in the previous race. Of course, Sebastian Job getting 25 points, Isaac Price getting 10 at the moment. They're trying to work their way up to 150 points, and if this is how it's going to finish, well, G2 will be on 70 points, meaning, you know, that
halfway home.
In realistically, they're just under halfway home. Yeah, you're absolutely right. One more race after that, and we're done. That sounds simple. It will not be, of course, because after this race we have driver changes. We'll see the other side of the G2 esports team taking over. Joni Turmela and Freddie Rasmussen behind the wheel. So, yeah, whilst things are going well now, that's going to be a big confidence boost for the team. They need to not let that slip away, otherwise that trophy might not be going to G2.
Arguably their most experienced lineup as well in these first 2 races. Of course, Sebastian Job, one you would expect to be at the forefront of everything good here at this point. Here comes a replay. This, of course, being that of Yuri Kastorp, I believe, against that of Bono House as they came together heading through this section. A lovely sky view as we see them come through the track of Nürburgring, tying up now, heading through the next right-hander. Of course, we then saw, of course, Joshua Rogers looking to try and make it 3 wide, trying to squeeze through as well, heading down. Oh, sorry, big Matt Backham trying to challenge, but then, of course, RAG cars were then queuing up. Matt Backham, despite challenging for the places in front of him here. I think this is the point where it left him exposed, heading through the NGK chicane as well. Lost himself a lot of time, and then he got mugged by the two RHE cars.
I mean, you could see it clear as day from up above. He was ready to drop out back into 2 wide action through the NGK chicane, and it just so happened that unfortunately Bunnerhaus was going a little slower than he expected, and he actually put it back to being 3 wide. That was not his intention. He was trying to drop in behind to not lose out anymore, and guess what? He lost out more because it went 3 wide. It's just how it goes sometimes. This is back up the order. Luke Bennett, of course, second position on the road, attacking Sebastian Jobe, 2 young British talents that have been towards the front of sim racing for a fair while. We know how strong Luke Bennett is, and considering Redline's points take in the previous race, you know he is going to be desperate and hungry to move through.
Yeah, definitely. And now we've reached the halfway point of this race indeed, lap 4 of 8. So another 4 to go after this lap concludes. Matt Backham currently sat down in the back end of matters. Currently got Chinchik and Kajubon just ahead as well. P's 10 and 11th for the 2 RHE cars, as I said before. But look at this. Chinchik on the back of Bono House is now going to work. Needs to as well. The gaps are starting to formulate. Cannot afford to stay behind House too long because he knows that the gap is extending between that of Kasdorp and teammate Moritz Lerner as they head through towards turn 1. Taking a wider line as well, Marcel Chinchik. A tactical move because it will give him some overspeed heading through Mercedes Arena, which might help him in the second part of this sector as well. Heading through towards turns 3 and 4 very shortly, as you can see, applying the brakes. Bono House, Chinchik all over him like a nasty rash.
Yeah, Marcel Chinchik, I mean, at the moment, RHE are scoring 3 points. We expect them to be at the front. You know, there's almost days like this, there's nowhere to hide. There is absolutely nowhere to hide, and that might well be the case for Isaac Price now. He's gone out wide as they head through Ford and Valvoline out towards Dunlop, and it's Rogers that is on the attack. Once you make mistakes, that's where the door can be open, especially if you make those mistakes and your tyres start to overheat. It still is 6th for the race lead. Of course, Sebastian Jobe, Luke Bennett, James Baldwin, Enzo Benito, Isaac Price and Joshua Rogers all involved in the fight. 2 for Team Redline, 2 for G2, 1 for Mercedes, and a bit of a mistake there for the Porsche Commander man. Wow, he managed to rescue that one.
This isn't Porsche Commander capitalising right now, is it, at all? I mean, Joshua Rogers, one of the strongest contenders they have at their disposal. Second last time out, but it's 9 P6, and now being held back by Isaac Price. G2 having a stellar showing. This has been a truly remarkable performance by a team that have come here with certainly names that would, I'm sure, be looked at in adulation by many of the fans of sim racing, but you would have expected both Redline and Porsche Commander to be taking the helm of this, but G2 currently taking it away. But I will argue this, look at Luke Bennett, near enough within 2.5 tenths.
Oh yeah, he will go on the attack. There will be an attempt from Bennett, I have absolutely no doubt. Maybe he's timing it right, maybe he's waiting a little bit. Marcel Chinchik can't afford to wait too long. He's on the back of Bonner House, and he'll be charging up to the rear end. There could be a move down into T1. The big thing for him is that he can see it's 1.4 seconds up towards Yuri Kasdorp, over to the right-hand side, down towards the wall as a defensive move from Bonner House. Marcel Chinchik in the tow, in the slipstream. He'll go to the outside, he'll commit to it. He didn't want to try down the inside. He might well be forcing Bonner House into a mistake, going for the up and under up towards the Mercedes Arena section.
Yeah, took that wide line like he did before on the previous lap as well, going wide again as they make their way around turn 3. But Bono House using all his experience to defend against the attack from Marcel Chinchik. In behind as well, Thibaut Kazubon also queuing up for a piece of the action as the exit turn 4. Still no switch.
No, certainly not. And of course, between Marcel Chinchik and Thibaut Kazubon, as much as they're teammates, they will play a team game today. There is no Drivers' Championship in this. You cannot be selfish, but Marcel Chinchik is the faster of the two. There's no way that Kazubon's going to try and fight him unless there's mistakes right into the rear end of Bonner House. Marcel Chinchik going through Valvoline. That's actually going to slow him down, meaning there is absolutely no opportunity going down into Dunlop.
No, not at all. It's going to really hamper him. Obviously, all that momentum that he carried out of the first sector will dissipate as a result, as we're now seeing them tie up towards the front end as well. Of course, there is Luke Bennett, who is looking to try and take the lead of this race, but he will have to fight off a very competitive Sebastian Jobe as well, fresh off the back of getting another pole position, his second consecutive one. He is chasing a second consecutive victory. Luke Bennett, though, the man to challenge as they make their way out of the next section. Coming up the hill, he'll have a chance here, Lewis.
Yeah, this certainly is. This is as close as Bennett's been. Once again in that slipstream, once again closing. You can see Sebastian Jobe felt that. He pulled over to the right-hand side, but Luke Bennett, he is not going for it. I kind of wonder if right now, after the previous race where they finished in 7th and 10th, was Team Redline, I wonder if there is a little communication from Andre Countryman. Right, let's just end this with a decent result, no penalty points. Let's not get penalty points, because as you might have heard earlier on, if they breach 15 penalty points behind the scenes, we can discuss this ad nauseum, then both drivers will be starting from the back in the next race. So you cannot afford that right now. So you can't afford penalty points early doors. Joshua Rogers, though, is going for some points. He's going down the inside of Isaac Price down into the first corner. He'll try to commit to it, but that's surely not going to work.
No, not at all. Blocking it off very well. Isaac Price again defending to the hilt again, as we've seen already several times. But a switch back here once again. This time from Joshua Rogers. They come through turn 3. Turn 4 coming up next. And Joshua Rogers trying to eke out as much as he can. Well, he had the inside. Outside again, but Price fights back as they now make their way down through towards turns 5 and 6. Valvoline next. Ford afterwards as well, as we're now seeing them come together. Rogers round the inside still. Price still fights back. Brilliant stuff between these two. Price, a stern defender, trying to hang on to P5.
Yeah, that is superb defence from Isaac Price. He put on some great defensive mastery back on Thursday. We've seen plenty of times from him, but that's a super send from Joshua Rogers. Is it too much as they head down towards Dunlop? He's trying to send it down the inside. He's trying to clear them as they head up towards the Michael Schumacher S. It's side by side between them. There's contact between them, and that is Joshua Rogers straight around the outside going through the Michael Schumacher S. Brilliant stuff and a bold dive.
Fantastic move. Could be a contender for overtake as well of the day. And we'll have to watch them now make their way heading through this next segment of corners. Isaac Price now losing out a spot, of course, one below where he finished on that previous occasion. I'm sure Joshua Rogers enjoyed that one. Those two professionals coming together. Looks a little bit stressed, though, as they make their way through the latter sector once again. Penultimate lap, 7 of 8, as now we see Bennett hovering all over the back of Sebastian Job, and very defensive Job heading through the NGK chicane, but watch out for James Baldwin. He's hot on the tail of the pair of them.
Absolutely. Now it's gone from 6th to the race lead. After that battle between Rogers and Price, it's actually become 4 for the race lead. Just Sebastian Job, Luke Bennett, James Baldwin, Enzo Benito as we come across the line to start the final lap. Weaving here from Sebastian Job. Now this they have to be careful with. They did get penalties yesterday for weaving on the straight, so he must be careful. That will be a 3-point penalty if race control see it and they think actually that was definitely weaving in the braking zone. A bit of a mistake there from Sebastian Job, but thankfully he's able to take that wider line, carry a bit more speed off of the first corner up towards the Mercedes Arena section.
Ran a little deep heading out of turn 1, and that did nearly invite that of Luke Bennett heading through towards turn 2, as you now see them come together again, turns 3 and 4, as they weave outwards now out of Mercedes Arena. Valvoline and Ford come up after this. Baldwin queuing up for a piece of the action. Further back, Enzo Benito not far away as well. I'm sure capitalise as well should anything happen. But naturally, this is imperative for Mercedes as well, because James Baldwin, one of their key marquee characters in their team, he needs to strike while the iron's hot. They need all the points they can in this final race that he's in.
Yeah, so Mercedes are not in the position we were expecting them to be, and like you say, you can see him there driving in a little bit too deep. Do you really see any major changes coming in? There's not many overtaking opportunities left.
No, not at all. I tell you what, there's opportunities in abundance for all these drivers as you make the move heading up towards Michelin Curve at turn 10. Turn 11 will come up afterwards out of the Dunlop section, but then of course Bogan leading through towards the NGK. We've seen a few moves being made here and there as well, as Sebastian Job still holds on. Bennett hovering all over his rear still as they now power through. They've got one final piece of circuit to take as they now make their way around the next section still. Bennett on pursuit, Job still hanging on. It's G2 on top, looking for the double here at Nürburgring.
Yeah, I think we're absolutely right. I think Job is starting to struggle a little bit on the tyres. Is there going to be a send from Luke Bennett? The answer is no, he's not quite close enough. They navigate the NGK chicane, and I think Redline will more than happily take 2nd and 4th after a fairly disastrous first race, but it is once again an almost perfect start for G2 Esports. Sebastian Job taking both victories to Open Championship Sunday. He'll come through the final corner, and it is G2 on top. The points lead is extending that with a 1st and a 6th. An incredible performance once again from Sebastian Job. He is looking like a man possessed.
He's looking so strong. The fireworks erupt here. And I have to tell you, it's looking like the fireworks are erupting at G2 Esports as well. Can they carry this form through to our next 2 races?
Certainly so. Like you say, big drama in this first group. After this race, we will switch drivers, so things will start to change up. Jonny Tormler and Freddie Rasmussen have quite the mark to follow, you've got to say.
Yeah, they certainly do. Sebastian Job, though, not hiding his elation. He is thrilled. He has done the job. 2 poles, 2 wins. That's how you want to start. Isaac Price as well doing the teamwork as well, trying to master mastermind his way to securing as many points as possible to allow G2 Esports an easier run to the championship, if that's at all possible.
Yeah, teams that may need a bit of a switch up there. Yuri Kazdorp on a Housel coming over to congratulate Sebastian Job over a fantastic start. Maybe R8G need to hit the reset button. Here's a look at that fantastic move. Joshua Rogers down the inside. I mean, that's just incredible.
A stellar showing between these two as well. I got to give credit to Joshua Rogers. He did not give up. Never say die from the Porsche Commander driver. A little touch as they made their way through the middle sector, but Isaac Price gave it everything. He just could not quite hold back the charge. Joshua Rogers carrying the Porsche Commander team on his shoulders. Look at this move down the inside as well as they made their way through the Dunlop curve as well, wheel to wheel, and then making their way in towards the middle sector. A stellar showing, Lewis.
It's incredible. It really is incredible. But they all fell short of Sebastian Job taking 2 victories to start.
What an epic start for G2 Esports. Cast your mind back, Sebastian. I want you to talk to me about what was said last night in the debrief. What did you guys chat about? Because today it seems like you're revitalized.
Basically, no pressure. We were happy with the outcome of P6 if that was the worst that happened. You know, once we got here, it was basically this is the target. Now we can just drive with no pressure. And when you have no pressure, good results come. And as you can see, we're not feeling much pressure.
للمرة الثانية المتسابق معنا سباستيان قدر يحقق النصر مرتين على التوالي. فسألنا وش تكلمتوا عنه بالضبط معنا أمس، يعني حرفيا جيتوا اليوم بداية جدا قوية. قال بكل بساطة اللي تكلمنا عنه كان بدون أي الضغط، هذا اللي يهمنا، نتسابق ونأدي اللي علينا بدون أي ضغوطات، نبغى نأدي اللي علينا وأكثر حتى. وفعلا قال لنا إذا البداية زي كذا وجمعنا نقاط كافية، في النهاية ما راح يصير فيها أي ضغط، وبدون أي ضغط نقدر نتسابق بشكل أفضل.
You mentioned that Nürburgring was a little bit disappointing up to this point. You got that win in the bag. Now you must be feeling like a lot of pressure is now kind of lifted off your shoulders. But that was actually a pretty dicey race, wasn't it? Were your tyres starting to go towards the end?
Yeah, honestly, I'm even though I won, I'm a little disappointed still because the qualifying lap was not good. In a lot of other races, that would not have been pole. I think everyone really felt the pressure. To not crack into the 52s is not great. So to be pole was quite a shock. And then in the race, you saw Luke was all over me the whole race. I killed my tyres, and he was protecting them really well. He drove like an unbelievable race, but it's so hard to pass it. I think any other track, and I'm not winning that race, so I had a bad performance on a good track for me. So yeah, I'm still happy.
صحيح أن في السباق الماضي سألنا فيها المتسابق معنا سباستيان أنه كان صحيح تحت ضغط عالي، وهو برضو ذكر أن أصلا نيربرغرينغ ما هو أفضل مضمار بالنسبة له. فهو فعلا بعد ما تكلم فيه قال أنه صحيح كان الضغط جدا كبير، لكن في الجولة الأولى اللي راح تحدد فيهم الترتيب قال أن أداءه ما كان جدا ممتاز. فهو صحيح أنه فاز، لكن ما هو مرة مبسوط من النتيجة، لأنه كان ممكن تكون بشكل أفضل، خصوصا أنه يعني لوك كان وراه، وحتى برضو أنه صعب أنه يتجاوز، فحاول انه يعني يتخطى العقبات بشكل كويس، لكن مع ذلك ان كانت جدا صعبه عليه، مع ذلك قدر يحقق الانتصار، وهذا اهم شيء شفناه في هذا السباق.
Well, nevertheless, you got the win on the board. You got the extra points. G2 are starting to stretch that lead. Congratulations, well done. We did it well that time, didn't we? So we're going to send it back over to the desk so they can break everything down for the past 2 races, and then we can switch out our drivers and continue with our team championship finals.
والحين أعزائنا المشاهدين خلونا ننتقل مرة ثانية على الاستديو ويتبدل على بال ما يتبدلون المتسابقين معنا، بعدين نرجع لكم في السباقات اللي بعدها.